Hello, welcome to Culture TV. You wouldn't have known how to form and use the conditional mood in Russian if it weren't for this video, would you? Stay tuned. So this is lesson 58 of our online program, Let's Speak Russian. And the conditional mood is going to be the last grammar topic that we'll be looking at in our course. And although it may seem quite advanced, it's actually quite gentle, quite straightforward, really. Okay, so what is it? What is the conditional mood? Well, we use it to express the possibility of an event happening only under a particular condition, hence the name conditional mood. So you can think of it this way. Event A will happen only given that event B happens. So if B, then A. And there really is no need to overcomplicate it. We have it in English. If it rains, I open my umbrella. It rains, that's the condition, I open my umbrella. Here's another example. If I had the money, I would buy a new car. Two very classic examples. Having the money, that's your condition. What would you do then? If the condition is met, well, you would buy a car. There we go. This is the conditional mood. Now, in English, it gets harder when we want to talk about what you would have done maybe in the past if a particular condition was met. About the future and so on, we have many different conditional moods, but in Russian, only two exist. The realistic and unrealistic conditional moods. So we'll start by looking at the realistic. It's the easiest one. And it really is the same as in English. It uses either the present tense to describe some kind of rule, algorithm, or sequence of events that happens frequently, or it uses the future tense to describe a future plan. And in both cases, you will be using the same tense for both parts of the sentence. So the condition and then the consequence, they will both be in the same tense. So either the present or the future. So let's take that same example with the umbrella at the start, but now we'll do it in Russian. Если идет дождь, я открываю зонт. Если идет дождь, я открываю зонт. So, идет дождь, you should hopefully remember from lesson 40 what that means. If it is raining, and here we go, key point, если means if. Если means if, okay. So, если идет дождь, if it rains, so our first part of the sentence is in the present tense. Я открываю, the second part of the sentence is also in the present tense. If it rains, condition, I open my umbrella, the consequence of that, or the result of that, or whatever you decide to do. Okay, let's have a look at another example. Если на улице солнечно, я надеваю солнечные очки. Если на улице солнечно, я надеваю солнечные очки. Okay, so what's happening here? What's the condition? You tell me. Okay, so на улице солнечно means it's sunny outside. Если means if. So if it's sunny outside, what do? I put my sunglasses on. Солнечные очки, sunglasses. Okay, and as you can see here, both parts of the sentence, the condition and then what you're going to do, they're both in the present tense. Now, as you should know, of course, the verb to be, strictly speaking, doesn't exist in the present tense in Russian, so it's kind of hiding there, so you can't really see any verb. But still, the phrase на улице солнечно, that is the present tense. Okay, so now let's have a look at the future tense, and we'll use this same example sentence that we looked at initially. This time, if it will rain, I will open my umbrella. So therefore, it will be если пойдет дождь, я открою зонт. Если пойдет дождь, я открою зонт. So пойдет and открою, they're both in the future tense, the simple future tense. Why is that? Well, you should know hopefully that пойти means to go by foot, and it's the perfective aspect. Okay, The simple future tense always uses the perfective aspect. The fact that it's unidirectional doesn't matter at the moment. And then similarly with открою, that comes from открыть. And that is the perfective of открывать, which we saw earlier. Okay, now one final example with the future tense. Я посмотрю, когда у меня будет время. Я посмотрю, когда у меня будет время. This time, as you should hopefully have noticed, we're not using если, instead we're using when. And if we use the word when, we're still using the conditional mood. So, когда у меня будет время, so у меня будет время, that's your condition. When that condition is met this time, so not if, but when that condition is met, я посмотрю, I will have a look. So I will have a look when I have the time. Now notice here a slightly interesting nuance. Я посмотрю, that of course is the simple future tense. It comes from посмотреть, that's in the perfective. У меня будет. Now with the verb быть, to be, there aren't really two aspects. It's just one verb on its own. And so therefore, у меня будет, it's neither the simple, neither the compound future tense. So I've just left it here as future, but you get the idea. Both components of this sentence will be in the same tense, in this case the future. Okay, great. All the same as in English so far. Now let's have a look at the unrealistic conditional mood. We use it to express any wishes, desires, or possibilities that will only happen given that an unlikely event happens, or a very unlikely event happens. And this is our unrealistic condition. And we sometimes also call it the subjunctive mood. So the unrealistic conditional and the subjunctive both refer to the same thing. In English, if you see the word would in a sentence, you know this is the conditional mood and it is probably going to be unrealistic. So whatever you're talking about, there is some kind of doubt or uncertainty involved here. And in Russian, бы is the particle that we use, and that could be referred to as the equivalent of would. So how do you form it in Russian? You take the past tense of the verb and you use the particle бы to form the unrealistic conditional, or to form the subjunctive. So in English, yes, that does work sometimes. That's when you're talking about the past. That we call the conditional perfect. So maybe I would have done something. There we're using the past tense, so that does make sense. But otherwise, you might be saying something like, I wouldn't say that. And in this case, say is in the present tense. But you have to just get used to using the past tense in Russian all the time whenever you want to use the unrealistic conditional. And just to clarify, this unrealistic conditional will cover all other forms of the conditional that we have in English. And as we just said, that does include the conditional perfect as well. So when you want to talk about the past, when you're kind of regretting something, oh gosh, if only I thought about that earlier, I would have done this. That's the conditional perfect, something like that. And all of these different variants, these different options, are all covered by this particular mood in Russian. Now, I would like to draw your attention to the fact that in spoken Russian, бы is often just shortened to б. So instead of hearing если бы, you might hear если б, and that's it. It just makes the speech flow quicker and smoother. Okay, so let's have a look at some example sentences then. Если бы я знал, я бы тебе сказал. Если бы я знал, я бы тебе сказал. So, again, two parts to the sentence. Both of them are in the same tense, right? They're both using the unrealistic conditional mood. How do we know that? Well, it's because of the presence of бы, the equivalent of would. And then we can see that я знал, that's in the imperfect tense. And then я бы сказал, that's also in the past, but this time it's in the perfect tense, okay? Because сказать is actually perfective. So aspect doesn't matter here. As long as they're both in the same tense, the aspect doesn't matter. So if you're referring to the past, or you're using the unrealistic conditional, and you're using the past tense, that's fine. The aspects you can play around with depending on what you want to say. So if I had known, I would have told you. Or alternatively, you could translate it as if I had known, I would tell you. Or you could flip it round and say, I would tell you if I had known. Or you could say, I would tell you if I knew. All of those translations are fine. It all depends on the context. So let's have a look at some more sentences. Если бы у нас были деньги, мы бы поехали в отпуск. Если бы у нас были деньги, мы бы поехали в отпуск. Okay, so быть does have a past tense, you should know that, and that would be был, была, были. So, если бы у нас были деньги. So, if we had money. So, having money is our condition. What would we do? Well, we would go on holiday. Мы бы поехали в отпуск. Both parts of the sentence, both in the same mood. Here's another one. Я бы ему помог, если бы у меня было время. Я бы ему помог, если бы у меня было время. I would help him, dative case, если бы у меня было время. If I had the time. Again, у меня есть, that's the present. У меня было, I had. У меня было время, I had the time. Если бы у меня было время, if I had the time. Okay? Next sentence. Они бы сказали нам правду, если бы они ее знали. Они бы сказали нам правду, если бы они ее знали. They would tell us the truth if they had known it. Or they would tell us the truth if they knew it. And here's another one. Мы бы позвонили ей, но у нас телефон не работает. Мы бы позвонили ей, но у нас телефон не работает. Now this is an interesting one because we only have one part of the sentence which is using the subjunctive mood, the first part. What would we do? Мы бы позвонили ей. The second part, or the condition, doesn't actually have to be in this unrealistic mood. You can just say but, just as we do in English. So we would call her, but the thing is our phone isn't working. Но у нас не работает телефон. A common phrase that we have in English, I would say that. In Russian, that also uses the subjunctive or unrealistic conditional. Я бы не сказала, что это хорошая идея. Я бы не сказала, что это хорошая идея. Remember that we need to make our participle сказала agree with the subject. So if this is a female speaker, я бы не сказала. Okay? Right, and the last thing I want to mention, we briefly touched on this in lesson 37 when we looked at conjunctions. One conjunction that we looked at was чтобы. And чтобы means so that. And чтобы always has to be followed with a subjunctive. The only difference is that you are not including бы, because бы is kind of already, as you can see, part of the conjunction. So you don't say it again. Мы бы хотели, чтобы вы нам помогли. Мы бы хотели, we would like, or we would want, literally, for you to help us. We would like you to help. Now, although in English we're not using so that, in Russian we do. You have to memorize a few situations where in English so that isn't generally used, but in Russian you have to say it in this way. There's no other way around. So чтобы, remember, always, you can basically say that after чтобы you always need a participle in the past tense. That's the easier way to remember. Мы бы хотели, чтобы вы нам помогли. So hopefully that makes sense. This is all I have for you for today. That's all for the conditional mood. I'll see you next time in lesson 59, something I hope you'll find interesting and useful. And yes, if you have any questions, as usual, put them down below or feel free to email us. Good luck and see you next time. Goodbye.